Are we good? All right, great. So, good morning, everybody. Uh, good morning. I'm looking at the screen back there.
Good morning.
More interesting than what's up here, maybe. Great, that's what we're looking for. My name is Michael Devlin. I'm a real estate broker with eXp Realty. I have a mega team at eXp. I have a really large team. My team's in the top 1,000 real estate teams in the United States. 424 is my rank. Top 80 teams in California. I have over 116 salespeople on my team at this moment, from San Diego through San Francisco, the Bay Area. I've been a real estate broker since 1986. I was only 9 years old. My parents had to drive me to the test site. I've spent some time at eXp. I was a productivity coach at Keller Williams for 7 years and one of their trainers, vice president of Century 21 Alpha, which became Century 21 Alliance, which became Century 21 Masters, right? But and I was there for 21 years. I'm telling you all that primarily to brag, because, you know, I'm a real estate agent who was given a trophy, right? And so you've got to show it to people and all that. The other is that I have some experience with a lot of real estate transactions. My team is closing, you know, quite a few transactions. And so this particular session is something that has been, I don't know, something that was really important to me to talk about, because being in real estate for a long time, I notice what real estate agents are taught to do. And if you're a real estate agent and you're starting at a typical real estate brokerage, they're going to tell you, talk to the people you know, right? Everyone's going to do that. Do open houses, right? But then the question is, what's next? Right. And if you were told that you ought to work for sale by owners, expired, pre-foreclosure property, circle prospecting, and door knocking, right? If you got that list from your broker, I want you to know that that's exactly what they were teaching real estate agents to do in the 1980s.
Brian, give me a ring back.
Don't ask how I know that. Right? But the world has changed, but the typical, this is what you ought to do, is not changed. It's the same old stuff. And I'm telling you, it was a different world when people were going door to door and selling stuff. And people did not have cell phones. And you could call them at dinner time because you were pretty sure they would answer the phone, because the phone was in the kitchen where they were eating dinner. Right? The world changed. And so what I wanted to talk about, the title of this class is Cold Calling is for Amateurs. All right? And I'm going to go, and to some degree that title was designed to get people to leave me nasty comments on my YouTube channel, which it typically does. But we're going to talk about what would you do instead. I hear a lot of voices. So this has something to do with the DISC profile. How many of you have heard of the DISC profile, right? Everybody. How many of you are thinking, oh no, not another DISC profile class, right? Anybody is thinking that way? Well, what's different about this is I'm not going to be talking about the DISC as something that you're using to deal with clients. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how the DISC profile might affect you and how you build your business. Self-discovery. So I'm going to get into some of the specifics, but the premise of this is that those things we do easiest are usually the things we do best, right? The things that we're naturally wired to do, that we do those better. Now, you may have heard that you ought to find the things in real estate you're weak at and then just double down and get better. My suggestion is no, right? Find somebody else to do that and double down on the things you're good at, right? You've heard of the 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of what we do produces 80% of the money. What's that 20% for you? And by the way, if you're wondering in real estate what the 20% is that produces 80% of the money, my answer is simple. It's the stuff that requires a real estate license, right? Making a flyer does not require a real estate license, right? So we want you to identify your natural strength, choose compatible strategies, and that might make you more efficient and, less burnout. Now, the DISC profile, DISC, and there's lots of different names. When I first did this, which was a long time ago, it was a company I worked for before I got my broker's license. So that would have meant 6 years old or something like that. But anyhow, the names were different. We had a controller, a promoter, a supporter, and an analyzer. But the names got in the way, right? Not everybody wants to be called a controller, right? And so I don't know, right? So there are different versions of this, but DISC stands for the driver, the influencer, the steady, and the conscientious. And for those of you that like matrices, this is the DISC matrix. Now, if you look at this, there are 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, a horizontal line. The 2 above the line are real estate agents who want to go get the business themselves, right? They want to be in charge of getting it themselves. The 2 below the line, the horizontal line, want the business to come to them. Right now, we might all want business to come to us, but I'm saying there's a difference between the proactive and the more passive approaches. Between the left and the right, the 2 on the left don't really care about face-to-face, right? They really don't care, right? Some of them, like the analytical style, they just assume it's 3 in the morning and they're in a window, like their laptop in a room, and they're writing stuff to post, right? You understand? They'd rather do that than go to a networking event, right? They'd rather do that because they hate them, because there's people, and all that. And so the 2 on the right, the influencer and the steady style, they're way better at face-to-face. So a high I, and people generally have all 4, but there's usually 2 relatively dominant ones. And let me just do it this way. The high D is the prospector. The high D is the cold caller, the door knocker, right? That's the high D, mostly cold calling. Why? Because it's the most efficient way to talk to the greatest number of people in the shortest amount of time. That's what the D wants. The I's don't like the rejection that comes with that. They would rather door knock than cold call, because at least then when the door opens, they're face-to-face, and they're better face-to-face. Is everybody with me? Now, so the ones on the right, the S and the I, want face-to-face. The ones on the left don't really care, right? One avoids it. Are we okay with this so far? Now, you might already have identified your primary style just from going through this, right? Let me do it again. The D, cold call. The I is networking. By the way, how many people list their home because somebody called them on the phone? Cold call. Does anyone know what the percentage is from the National Association of Realtors? 4. How many people list their home because of a network, sphere of influence, or referral? What percent is that? 40. When you add in repeat business, that adds almost another 30% for listings. 70% of listings are someone the agent knew, or someone that they knew, or someone that they had worked with in the past. 70%. One of the thoughts that I had some years ago is, why are we teaching people to do the 4, but not the 40? Why? And the answer is simple. Because for sale by owners expired. I'm going on a listing appointment with one of my team members next week, and it was an expired listing, right? And she likes to do it. They want to sell. Why not, right? But the point. Yes, question, Dimitri. That usually, I'll get to that when we get, it's coming up. Because right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking the DISC profile and we're going to overlay it with the 4 ways that real estate agents make money. So this is just a little bit about it. Dominance, direct and decisive, influence, engaging and persuasive. Those are the natural networkers. A high I, if you tell them we're going to go to a networking event and the job is to meet as many people as possible and talk to them, this is not work for them, right? This isn't work, right? They would do it anyhow, right? The high C, do you know how you can tell the difference? Like the engineers, do you know how you can tell the difference between an introverted engineer and an extroverted engineer when you're talking to them?
The extroverted ones tell you about their mom.
They do, the extroverted ones. That's good. I'll remember that. How about this? If when you're talking to the engineer and they look at their shoes the whole time, they're an introvert. If they look at your shoes, they're an extrovert. You have to, anyhow, never mind. So again, I'm talking about find your style, and then we're going to use it and natural strength. Let me get to the part I really like. It looks like I have more slides than I wanted that say the same thing. How many of you have access to a program that will tell you what your DISC style is if you don't have it? All right. So the DISC style overlaps on this. This is called the 4 archetypes. Also, you'll find this as the 4 ways real estate agents make money. These are the 4 kinds of real estate agents. There's the prospector, cold calling, door knocking, the networker, the marketer. The marketer is the farming agent. The marketer is the agent that has a niche website on investing in multifamily in Santa Clara County, right? First-time home buyers, right? They're marketing. And then there's the converter. And the converter refers to internet lead generation and social media. Somebody who's converting internet leads. Now you'll notice in this matrix, we have direct and indirect, which is similar to what I was saying about the agents that want to go get the business versus the agents that want the business to come to them. You have warm and cold, right? So the marketer and the networker are dealing with warm leads. The prospector and the converter are dealing with cold ones. Now, can you see how the DISC profile might fit these 4 ways of making money? The prospector would be a D, the networker a I. Now it gets a little trickier. Is the converter a S or a C? Is the marketer an S or a C? This is the audience participation opportunity. What?
S, because that takes steady push, steady effort, and the marketer is the conscientious because the marketer has to understand their audience really well and know what their desired outcome is in order to market.
That was really good.
Sorry.
No, it was great. You were right, which is the part that was surprising me because usually people, because of where the DISC falls, they think it falls, but you're absolutely correct. The converter is generally the S style, slow and steady. I have a large team. Do you know what real estate agents are always asking me on the team? What they're saying? They're saying, I don't understand what happened. I showed the buyer the house. He seemed to like the house. I've texted him. He doesn't text me back. You know, it's been 3 hours. You know, what's going on? Maybe he doesn't like me. Maybe he found another agent. The next day, oh my God, what am I going to do? I called him. I left a message. He never called me back. You know, in a week, right, they're like, well, the world has ended. Right, obviously, you understand that style is not good for internet lead generation, right? Because the conversion rate is somewhere around 0.5% and it takes time, right? These are people that build databases, right? And follow up in order to get a return on the database. And the marketer, this is complicated, right? You understand, to the marketer, you're deciding, well, I'm going to run this, I'm going to have this ad to go to this landing page, to collect this information, to go into my customer relationship management program where I'm going to launch this campaign, the goal of which is to get them to do the, you understand, most real estate agents don't have patience for that. Right? They want to know, like, today, I want somebody to make a, and we know that some of these people take a year or longer. They give you fake names, right? You know, I've sold homes to Fred Flintstone, right? Abraham Lincoln, right? They had the right email, but they just made up a name, right? You understand? It takes time. Yes. So does everybody understand? These are the 4 ways to make money. Now, can you make money in real estate doing any of these 4? And the answer is yes. So which one is your natural style? Right? That's just sort of the, all right. So oftentimes the D is the prospector, the I is the networker, the C is the marketer, and the S is the converter. More about that. I have way too many of these things. Part of the reason, so what I've done is I've spent a little bit of time going through the different styles. So by the way, most people in real estate that are successful, most that I know, are usually have a lot of they're a high I, and oftentimes have a lot of D, because you need somebody driving, you know, getting people to do stuff, right? You know, you need to have enough drive in order to do that. I've known real estate agents that were making a ridiculous amount of money selling lots of homes, and they were doing it almost entirely through marketing or internet lead generation. It's possible to do any of them, but most residential agents are a DI, and most commercial agents that I've met are an ID, right? They're more anchored in the D style, but they have enough I in them to not be too obnoxious with everyone they meet. Although most of them don't do very well with that. All right. Core characteristics: lead generation, cold calling, door knocking, expired listings, for sale by owners. We know that about 67% of expired listings, I did this in San Jose, by the way, 67% of the listings that expired during a month last year were relisted and sold within the year that they expired. 67% relisted. Some of them relisted several times and didn't sell, but 67% were relisted. And I forget the exact percent that actually sold within that year. So we know, if I gave you a list of 100 names and addresses and phone numbers, and I told you that 67 out of those 100 people were going to list their home in the next year, would you want that list? Would that be a good list? Right, it'd be a good list, right? So I'm not saying that this doesn't ever work. I'm just saying that it's not for everybody. So what would somebody that was focused on the prospector style, we're talking about 50 calls every day, how long would it take to make, well, how about this? If you have 50 calls, how many of those are going to result in conversations? Yeah, well, it depends. Well, I'll get to that. It depends, doesn't it? Yeah. So of that list, expireds and for sale by owners have the highest percentage of engagement. That means they answer the phone. Pre-foreclosures and circle prospecting, it drops dramatically. Many statistics that you see online about how calling people works is dealing with something called a pond. And what a pond is when a team is running ads or agents are doing things to collect people's contact information, all of that goes into a pond of contacts. And if somebody had asked about a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house in Santa Teresa, and they're in the pond, calling them has a much higher answer rate and a much higher response rate, because it's not really that cold, right? They filled out a form, they said something, they're looking at property, not that cold. So in that group, we find that about 18% of the people answer the phone, right? And from that, we know that if you have about 100 conversations, you're going to actually have a client, right? So if you called 50 people a day and you did it 5 days a week and you did it for 48 weeks, because we're in real estate and we're going to take a month off, right? At least, right? People are saying, we only get a month, right? The typical real estate agent vacation is coming up, right? Does everybody know what that time period is? Halloween to the Super Bowl, right? Isn't that real estate agent vacation? But if you did that consistently 5 days a week, you'd be making money in real estate. And you'd be looking at your conversion rates and appointment set and all of that. What's the downside of this? This isn't for everybody. People burn out. One of the groups that I work with occasionally has 1,000 dial day. Huh? Everybody, dial 1,000 people. All right. Now, if you do that, you will find people, right? Although in my, I shouldn't, this is being recorded. For many of us, if you devoted, if you took that time and you spent it at a nonprofit you believed in, you might get more business. Just, just thinking. So that's the driver. The I, that's of course the people that are very outgoing, they're good at meeting people, they're good at talking to people. And one of the things that I put is what I call the 90 days to networking greatness, right? Because it's how to become a great networker. This is also called upstream. There's actually a book about upstream. And what upstream says is that it's better to fish upstream than to be fishing downstream. So I just realized that I'm going to take a break in a second. 90 days to networking great. Let's say I go on a listing appointment and the owner of the property says, well, the tenant's really messed up the rental. Look at the front lawn. We're going to need a new landscaper. Do you know a good landscaper? And I said, no. I don't. All right, well, we're going to have to get the house painted, obviously, because, you can see it's a mess. Do you know any painters? And I said, no. Well, what about the plumbing leak we have? You know any plumbers? No. Flooring contractors? CPA? Financial planner? No. See, now this isn't going well, is it? Right? This isn't going well. Did you know that 25% of the people who get their house painted, when asked in remodeling surveys, why are you doing this, say, because I plan on selling it? Did you know that? 25% of the people who get their house painted are planning on selling it. How many house painters do you know? How many house painters are in your network? Does everybody see where I'm going? Right? If I were going to sell my house, who would I talk to? Kitchen remodelers, flooring contractors, junk removers, landscapers, plumbing contractors, etc. Right? What I'm going to do now, because if we don't do it now, I'm never going to stop. All right, so we have a sponsor today. This is Eric with Cutco Closing Gifts. And today we have a great sponsor from the largest closing gift company in North America. His name is Eric, and he currently helps over 2,000 plus realtors and lenders brand themselves with their closing gifts. This is a really good idea. He's going to speak for a few minutes on maximizing branding for your business, along with increasing client retention so your clients can never forget your name. His company is called Gifts with the Double Edge. How'd I do? All right.
I'm thinking I need to use a microphone for Zoom. Like that.
I think
Oh, yeah. Late morning, everybody. I think Jody says I have about 25 minutes, so I'm not, no, just kidding. I'm gonna make this much quicker. You need to stand over here. Everybody on Zoom can see me okay. Jody should have some things pop up on the screen here in a little bit when she gets back in. But yes, like Michael said, and thank you for the introduction. My name's Eric Cheshire, and if I haven't met you before, my goal is twofold. Talking about prospecting new clients, etc. My goal is to help you on the back end as far as staying in touch with your clients after the transaction. And I do that by increasing client retention and increasing branding with your closing gifts. Didn't know it was going to be that loud, huh? It's okay. And we do that by using a product in a company called Cutco. Now, by a show of quick hands, who in here has heard or has Cutco? Okay, good. Most everybody does. Great. So if you haven't heard of Cutco, we've been around since 1949. We're made in America, and everything we make is guaranteed forever. Okay? And the next question is, I'm sure you guys can agree with, most real estate agents and lenders even, at the end of a transaction, they're giving and you're giving your client some type of gift. Would you guys agree with that? Okay. Most of those gifts, gift cards, baskets, bottles of wine, doormats, Ring doorbell cameras. My question to you, in a matter of a few weeks or maybe a few months, where are most of those gifts?
Used up or in the garbage.
Used up or in the garbage, right? Re-gifted maybe, hopefully not. The bottles of wine are consumed. The other 10% of gifts, they hang on a wall, they stick in a shelf, they collect dust, and that's about all they do. So what we're doing as a company is we're taking the same money you normally spend already. Doesn't have to be more, doesn't have to be less. We turn that gift into a long-term branding tool using that product called Cutco. And we do that by taking the Cutco product, engraving it with your name and information. So every single time your client's in the center of the home, which is, thank you for not saying the bathroom, every single time they're in the center of the home, they see your name and they're reminded of the great service you provided. Now, talking about NAR stats, does anybody know what percent of past clients, just 2 years after closing, can remember their realtor's name? And we'll talk about lenders in a second too, actually. And that's after all the emails and phone calls and all of the time and money, the systems you already have in place. Anybody know what percent? Take a guess. 75, not quite. Close. It's 12. 12. According to NAR, it was actually 9 in 2017. It went up. It's now 12. So according to NAR, 2 years after closing, only 12% can remember their realtor's name. Now, I'm not sure how or why, doesn't matter. Lenders is 14%. So you guys are winning on that side. So that tells me in literally just 2 years, 88% of your past clients are having a hard time remembering your name. And like I said in the beginning, my goal is to help you with that. So the first thing we do for you with our gifts is we create this top of mind awareness. People are using things in the kitchen constantly. Even if they don't cook, they are opening the drawer. They are cutting an apple. They are making a sandwich or spreading cream cheese on a bagel. They are using things in the kitchen. So literally, whether it's a 4th of July, Super Bowl, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever gathering, birthday parties, you're getting that top of mind awareness literally on the daily. And because Cutco is guaranteed forever, it literally is forever. Now, real quick, the people who have Cutco, raise them again. Raise your hands again if you have Cutco. Who's had it longer than 5 years? Anybody who has Cutco had it longer than 5 years? Okay. 10 years? 15? 20? About 15? Okay. So imagine literally the next 15 years, every time your clients eat, which I think that's every day, they open the drawer, they're using this product, and they're reminded of you. The second thing is the advertising marketing end of it. Legally, when you give a $300 gift card as a gift, how much of that can you write off? 25, right? So if it's a married couple, yes, 50. So legally, 2 people, 25 per person, okay? 100%, $25 no matter how much you give them. With our gifts, because your name and information is engraved into it, you can legally write it off as a marketing expense 100%. So instead of getting a $25 deduction per gift, with ours, 100%. Thirdly, we keep a supply of gifts on hand. You have a closing, grab your gift, hand it, you're done. You don't have to go online, drive around town, try to find something, wonder if they like red wine, white wine, wonder if they drink it all, run to Hobby Lobby 2 hours before signing, right? Try to find something real quick. Yeah, guilty, she's done it before. With our gifts, we keep that small supply, so you really grab it, give it, go, and you're done. Our prices start at $100, which most agents are spending double or even triple, maybe even more than that, and they go up to pretty much whatever you want to spend. We have single items, 2-piece items, up to full sets, depending on what you want to spend for your client. In closing, what other gift out there, literally, what other gift out there can you give your client they're going to have for the rest of their lives, guaranteed? Every single time they're in the center of the home, they see your name, they're reminded of you. It's fully 100% tax deductible, and it's a system in place. Literally every one of your clients that receives one of these gifts, 5, 10, 20, 30 years later, they're going to have this product. If it breaks, we fix it for free, right? If it's not fixable, we completely replace it free of charge. My wife and I have 3 kids. We have a garbage disposal. It's happened many times. Drop down there, left in the heating element, dishwasher, whatever, fully 100% replaceable. So literally, this is a forever guaranteed business card. So if you guys have any questions, if you want more information about this, we're going to have a QR code pop up on the screen. It's not working. Okay. At the end of the class, we'll have a QR code pop up on the screen. We have a reward today. The first 3 people, whether you're on Zoom, whether you're in person, that want to order some gifts. And like I said, we typically plan for the next year of how many gifts you'd use. So for example, if you think in the next year, you're going to give out 6 gifts, we order you 6 gifts, but we bill you over 6 months. If you think that number's 12, we order you 12, we bill you over 12 months. No fees, no interest. So you have that cost effective and you have the gifts on hand. Yeah.
I realize you said that usually you have some for backup or whatever, but let's say you've used up your backup or they're going quicker than you thought.
Sure.
How long does it typically take to
Yeah.
get one done?
As of this morning, we were at a 5.5-week turn time, and it's probably going to be that or greater until the holidays because the holiday season's here. People are setting up their gifting for their top 20%, their past clients, and their next year. We have a rush option too. We can get it to you in about a week if you pay an extra fee for a rush. So if you need it sooner, we can get it to you sooner. And then depending on quantity, we have quantity discounts as well. So you can definitely leverage the cost and everything. In fact, if you guys, after the class, you want to get something going, like I said, the first 3 people who'd like to get an order or they scan that QR code, once I have it up, I'm going to buy you $250 of free Cutco in the house. So if you want to plan for the next year, you want to get some gifts, you have a closing coming up in the next few months, you have a referral partner you want to give this to, let me know. I have order forms over here, all your information, all the different gift options on the back. Okay, so you can just circle which ones you want, how many, the color, the free stuff, and I'll be here after the class is over. So don't want to take up too much more of your time. Any questions, want more information, I'll be over here. We'll get that QR code step up in just a minute. I need to give you back your mic, I guess, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh.
Does anybody know what percentage of buyers and sellers, when surveyed, say they would use their agent again? You have an idea what that's like? It's over 70. What percentage of buyers and sellers use the agent again? About 23%. All right, well, what happened between the 70% that said we would definitely use our agent again and all the ones that did not?
Lost contact.
They lost contact. In the old days when we used to do all the signings at the title company, I mean, I know they still do, but my metaphor is the last time they saw the agent was in their rear view mirror as they were pulling out of the parking lot at the title company and the agent's waving at them. Right? That was the last contact they had. Now, we do know that if you follow a system, and there's 2 parts to networking. One part is sphere of influence. I did a different class on that. This isn't about that. We're going to talk about networking greatness, but just out of sphere of influence, we know that if you're doing 24 versus 36 touches a year with a client database, that increases your return from that database from 2 to 4% at 24 to almost 8 to 9% once you get to 36. So, you know, you should do something on their birthday. You should, you know, not let them forget you. And having something that sticks around, just saying. 90 days to networking greatness. What I'm talking about here is not necessarily your sphere of influence, but developing relationships with business partners. This is what I meant by fishing upstream. One of my agents, she got a job at a high-end appliance shop. They sold expensive fixtures for kitchens. She had to take on a partner because she was getting so much business from people selling their house. All right? If you were going to sell your house, who would you talk to? Who would you call? What are the vendors? And contractors. You need, so this is an idea, all right? Let's start with a landscaping contractor. Let's say you don't know one. These are called trigger events, right? I'm sort of jumping around on my 90 days, but these are called trigger events, right? Somebody that contacts a landscaper or a house painter or a window washer, they might be thinking of selling their house, right? So you go through Yelp or just ask like Perplexity, who are the best, you know, just you get a list of landscapers and you call them up. And you say, hi, my name's Mike, I'm a real estate agent. I'm putting together a preferred vendor list for my client database. And I was wondering, I saw your reviews, it looks like you're killing it in the landscaping business. Are you taking on new clients at this time? I've had people say no. The guy just quit, I got a big project. Great, call another landscaper. Next one says, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I am taking on new clients. Wonderful, maybe we could work together. If your clients have real estate related questions, do you have someone you refer them to? Sometimes they say yes. My wife's an agent, my husband's an agent, my father's an agent, my daughter's an agent, call another landscaper. One of the guys in the group he says, well, I have this pool cleaner I always use. I said, great, did you ever get any business from the pool cleaner? He says, no, his wife is like the top agent in the town. And I'm like, so why this pool cleaner, right? I mean, you know, and he said, well, they give all my clients 1 month free for pool cleaning. Have you asked other pool cleaners? No. Right, you understand, I would find another pool cleaner. So if I ask the landscaper, is there somebody that you already have that you refer business to? Now, by the way, sometimes I'll ask them, do you have 2 people that you refer business to? 2 real estate agents, because sometimes they don't like the first one. And if they say, yeah, call another landscaper. Now, do you understand the goal is to eventually run across a landscaper who wants to grow their business? This is an important part. Part of the trouble we have with CPAs is, one, they don't want to talk to us, and most of them are busy and they're not that focused on growing their business, right? A lot of them, they're just not, right? They don't need to, right? But the landscape, you want somebody that's a little hungry, who doesn't have an established relationship. To put it simply, we don't want vendors. We want partners. That's what we want. So, are you a member of any networking groups? BNI, Chamber of Commerce? But one of my group, they tried Lake Tip and they tried BNI and they couldn't get in. So one agent, not to be stopped. I mean, what do they do at one of those things? Well, they go to Denny's, once a month and have breakfast. And yeah, I know. And they, refer business to each other. And so she just started calling these partners, and she arranged her own networking group. They would meet at Denny's once a month, skipping the Late Tip and the BNI fee, right? This isn't that difficult. You want to find, so who would be part of that? A contractor, a lawyer, financial planner, a lender, yeah. Anybody that wants to. One of our guys had in Morgan Hill, he's kind of gotten older and doesn't do, he has a Asian restaurant and he shows up at real estate agent networking groups, right? Because he caters open house. I mean, you know, why not? People. So we want to identify a group of people that are going to be our partners. One of the questions I get from agents often is, they'll call me up and they'll say, well, I've got somebody that wants to invest in real estate. They've never done it before. And they want to know, should they do a flip or should they do a hold? Which one is going to be best for them, right? I get asked this question a lot. And my answer is, are you a certified financial planner? To which the agent says, well, no. Maybe you shouldn't be giving them financial planning advice. How about that, right? If you're not one, maybe you shouldn't. One of my guys who heard me, you know, preaching about this, he's in Monterey, he decided to call financial planners. The one that he ended up talking to first, they had coffee, they got along. He has listed and sold 2 homes from meeting that financial planner, because she said to him, look, I got people that have to sell their homes. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm their financial planner. They have to sell their homes. And he got 2 listings. And being a typical real estate agent, what do you think he did? He stopped talking to financial planners because he found one. When I start new agents and they say, well, tell me what I should do. One of my suggestions is, and in all the years, only 1 or 2 have actually did this, I would say, well, your goal ought to be to talk to, let's say, 10 lenders a week for 4 weeks. The goal is to talk to 40 loan agents. That's the goal. What do you say? You call them up and you say, hi, my name is Mike, I'm a real estate agent. And I wanted to talk to you about how we could work together. How many loan agents do you think would take that call or meet with you? Right? Most, not all. There's enough of them out there. Right. So the idea is, so by the time you're done, you have 40 people you've talked to, 40 loan agents. We were talking about title companies and bringing stuff. What I do when I go meet with the loan agent is, and I would take my Padawans with me, is I would have them bring cookies or we'd bring them donuts. So I meet the lender. I called this Operation Donut Drop. So we go to the lender's office and we present them with a box of donuts. Have you ever heard of a pattern interrupt? Right? They're looking at the donuts and twitching and blinking and wondering what's happened to their reality. And they'll say, you're bringing me donuts? You're bringing me cookies? And I would say, well, yeah, every time you guys show up to our office and stuff, you have to bring food, right? Isn't that right? Every time. So I just felt it'd be polite if I came, that we'd bring you something. I had loan agents have friends take pictures of us giving them the box of cookies so we could post it on social media. You won't believe what happened today. A real estate agent brought me donuts, right? And we would put a card on it and kind of, you know what I'm saying? So you do that, you talk to 40. You don't need all 40, but one of the things you'll learn is different lenders do different stuff. There'll be lenders that'll say, if you've got 25% down or better, call me, I'll beat anybody's loan. If you've got somebody with bad credit, forget it. Not me, right? Wouldn't hurt. And you want to follow up with those people, but you understand? So I have a system for following up with them, right? You want to hear my system? First of all, you send them a handwritten note after you've met with them. Right? Saying, hey, it was really good to meet with you, looking forward to working with you. Number 2, you would call them the next week and ask them if they got your note. Number 3 is you would send them an item of value. Lenders know a lot about loans. They don't necessarily know, are days on market going up? Is inventory going up? There's things they don't necessarily know. Number 4, you would call them and ask if they got your item of value. Number 5, another item of value. Number 6, another call. Number 7, and this is done week by week by week for 8 weeks. By this time, they know your name. By the way, I should have said this. So I'm talking to the loan agent. The loan agent says, why are you here? I mean, I brought donuts, all that's great. And I would say, well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. What I would love to hear is your understanding what's going on in the market. What do I need to know about you and your loan program so that we can work together? This, by the way, is a slow pitch to a salesperson, right? Tell me about you and your loans and why we should work together. And when they're done, by the way, some it takes 4 to 5 minutes and some 45 minutes. And when they're done, you say, I really appreciate you sharing that information with me. By the way, I bet from time to time you're talking to somebody who's interested in buying a home and they don't have a real estate agent yet. And I would love to be in a position to work with you. They say, well, I already got a bunch of agents and all that, that I say, great, I bet that's true. How about this? Let's go back and look at all of the leads you gave out in 2024 or the first couple of months of 2025 that have not resulted in a loan for you. Give those to me. Let me call and ask if they still want to buy a house and need a loan. How about that? So we want to get this special group. We want to join meetings if we don't have them that we can join. We create them. We're going to work together. Now, what I mean by working together is that we want our core group, and the core group is usually a loan agent, an insurance agent, a contractor, a lawyer, financial planner. Right? We have a core group. We sponsor networking events together. Right? The group. We go to networking events together. And I've made what to do in the first 30 days, the next 30 days, and the 90 days. One of the metrics that you ought to be tracking, coffee dates. How many times do you have coffee with people? Now, this is going to sound crazy. Some of you are not drinking enough coffee. I know. People, oh my God, no way I can drink more coffee. But you should, as a suggested goal, 2 coffee dates a day, 5 days a week. CPAs and financial planners are better at marketing. So to the CPA, we would say, how would you like to have a marketing system to increase the referrals that you're getting from your existing clients and making sure you don't lose clients to other CPAs? Would that be of interest to you? And they usually say, well, I don't have time. Okay, let's say I'm a marketing guy. And let's say I were to produce all of the marketing materials for you, like a postcard, and it would have your information about why they ought to refer business to you or something that you're offering them. And on the back of the postcard where the address goes, it's going to have my information as your partner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it all designed, all of it camera ready. I've got printers lined up. You're going to pay for the printing and send them out, 500. Right? And we'll do it like every month. We'll send out a postcard. Would that increase their retention rate? Would it increase their referrals? So let's say you really wanted to do this. So you talk to 2 CPAs a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. Right? Again, you're trying to get to 40. Right? Now, if you've got 3 or 4 of them sending out 500 postcards a month with your contact information, and they're paying for the postage and the printing. I did a class a long time ago called How to Farm for Free. It actually costs a little bit, but you can see where I'm going with that. Right. Any questions about that idea? Yes.
I am crappy at creating a flyer. So suggestions on, I mean, obviously my portion of this is going to be doing that sort of thing. So suggestions on where to go or how to make that work.
No. If you're at a major broker, question?
Suggestion.
Oh,
Canva.
Yeah, okay, I'm familiar
We're
with
gonna be
Canvas.
doing actually class, with AI and Canva and things like that will help you to create those things. October 15th.
Most of us have, are with a brokerage or we have access to software that'll make flyers and postcards. There's Fiverr. I happen to have a full-time virtual assistant in the Philippines who does transaction coordination and does stuff. It's easy to find people that would do that. I personally am not great at Canva, but I know people that are. And so that in the 80-20, the 20% that produces 80% of the money, making a flyer is not in the 20%. Right? I'm just saying, it's not in the 20%. Get someone else to do it. And if you've never used Canva and you're not good at that sort of stuff, my suggestion is get somebody who is and knows. By the way, just about any teenager would be able to use Canva. And just, you know, even a high school dropout, right, would be able to use Canva. All right, Converter. So this is let me go to, I did the 90 days to networking grace. It was our question, yes.
I think that's those slides, the 90 days to access, who we access the slide. Or just the book.
Yeah, if you send me an email, I'll send you the deck. Yeah. Let's say I was able to get, I'm doing the networking thing. I'm networking, I'm going to networking events. My goal is to get 10 partners that refer 2 clients to me a year and another 30 that refer 1. Does that sound doable? That's 50. That's 50 clients. That's 50. Right? We're not, you understand, we're not talking about you need thousands. You just need the right 10 and the right 30. That's all you need. This is why I say networking, cold calling is for amateurs. Networking is really where the money is. I'm not late yet, but we started late, so I don't know. And yes, if you want all of these, I noticed that my program may have added a little bit to it. But the 90 days in that, I even have a little thing where you can test yourself or keep track as you're going along, right? You create a core group. The core group works together to increase the level of business for the core group. One of the people that I coached at the other brokerage, one of the people that I coached did mostly probates. And he would, where did he get his business? He had lunches with lawyers, which he paid for. And he had learned, he had this epiphany one day that there were different kinds of probate lawyers. And they did different things. And they referred business to each other. And he arranged that group to meet for lunch with him there. He joined that county's estate planning association so he could go to their mixers. Is it easy to get to a probate lawyer? If they're at a bar at a estate planning mixer and you're standing, he got through the gate. And it costs money to join that. But you understand, but he was doing 1 year when I was there, 18, he did 18 listings that year with an average price of almost 3 million. San Mateo County. Pays off, right? That's all he does. Does everybody see that we're, you know, and so you need to find your niche. So your sales DNA, right? Figure out what works best for you. Focus on doing that to make the most money. Get other people to do the stuff that you're not good at so you can spend your time doing the stuff you are good at. Network. That's the message. Any questions? Thoughts? Where are the bagels? That's it. Where are the donuts? All right, well, have I reached the end? Did you want to, any questions online?